Good evening and welcome along to the show. Where is everyone's comments? I don't know what's going on. This is where I need a producer. Tonight it's me hosting a show about myself. It's taken me 10 years to do this. It's just me on my own talking about football and stuff that happened at the weekend. Football in the world, as you might call it. But just in case you get bored, just in case you don't know what's going on, I'll just throw in the lads. It's old school. It's the forum. It's four of us.
You still have the music on from the intro.
Do I? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, no, it stopped. Is it stopped? No, it stopped. What are you doing? Dudes for? How come I can't see comments? What's going on, Andy? Tell me what's going on.
Nobody's comment because they don't care. They see
everyone.
Me and you around. They don't care.
YouTube doesn't support comments. Is this private? What is this private?
Maybe just are we actually live? Can someone check?
I don't know. Here, Pete, you check there, see if we're live, will you? Because if we are, it says there's 44 people watching. So
hang on a second. Yes, we are. Apologies for the noise in advance on my giant screen.
I don't know what this is. I'll check the settings. Right?
Maybe the video is set up as private or something, and people can only watch with the link, which is a private link.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Gav's kind of freak.
Well, Gav set it up, so
can't even go away for
exactly.
No. Are we live? Does anyone know? Because I can stop it and we can go back to the start again and do it all again.
Hang on. Please edit this out in post.
It's grand. Well, do you know who's doing the edit? Do you know who's doing the edit? I'm doing the edit. So it's great. I can do the edit in post. Okay, that's great. So I'll say hello to everyone in the live.
So there's no comments.
There's no. We can't see the comments. But what I might do, Andy, is I might have the top comments come in on the YouTube. Pete, did you not put earphones in? Because I can hear myself off you at the moment.
See these big black microphone. It's hiding my earphones.
Honest to God, Gav goes away, and it's ridiculous. What's going on here.
It said there's a message come from Gav in about 30 seconds.
Hi. See, I can do chat here. So, hi, everybody.
He's blatantly on.
He's in Benny though. Won't be able to watch us over there.
Look, there's T just there. There's Kev. Go into settings and turn it from private to public. So go into settings and general settings, and I don't know what that is.
Kev O'Sullivan saves the world, part 77.
Yeah. Like I don't know. Kev, if you want to text me or something, and I'll sort it all out then.
Turn it off and turn it back on again.
Turn it off and turn it back on again. Right, lads, listen, we'll continue on and I'll figure this out as we go along. Don't worry about this. It's been so long since I've been running the show. I've lost all the powers. I've lost all the powers that be. So let's rock and roll with this. Andy, good evening to you. It's great to see you back. It's been ages since me and you were on a show together. Like literally ages.
Yeah, it feels like so long. It is so long. But it's
and
great
doesn't it feel fitting that we
get
back together
so long,
when the world is falling apart?
So long.
It was great being so long. And what time is Trev coming on at?
Trev, I rang Trev. I didn't, but pretend we do like we do all the time. I rang him today. He said he'd be on about 11:15. So if anybody wants to hang
ring him again on a private number, and it'd be a nice surprise for him that he's live on there.
Yeah, and the best crack is he's going to read us a bedtime story to close out the pod. So we can listen to it. It's going to be in his next stories pod, the bedtime story edition. So I can't wait for it.
Call it was number there for it, will you? And I'll put hash 31 hash in front of it.
Let's see. 08. Right, Shane, actually, Magnar, it's great.
Which one is his number? Because of two numbers.
Whichever one, right, he answers, that's his number. I have two numbers as well, right? So I won't give away too much, but I'll be going with the one that ends in the number that's involved in the sentence, right? Right. Anyway, where are we? This is winners and losers. It's not. It's not. I'm gonna tell you all. We got to ask her. This is technically winners and losers, but it's not. It's the forum. There's 4 of us on screen. We're talking rubbish. It's a Monday night. Liverpool were pants at the weekend. This feels like 2016. It's great, isn't it? Look, it's great. I've got the juices flowing here. It's just fantastic to be absolutely rubbish again. Andy, you've got to bring the positivity tonight. Shane is down a dark well, and he's literally down a dark well. Look behind him. He basically somebody's pulled him out of a basement and just left him there. And Pete's been allowed down to the mess room in the prison to do this podcast, which is great to see that the wardens haven't come in and attacked him just yet. It's phenomenal and listen, I've decided to bring the forum back after the outcry to bring it back, Andy, last night on the Fatback 4 at the end of it when I popped into the chat to ask the lads to hurry up because I need to go to bed, and it was phenomenal. We had 3 comments asking us to bring the forum back, and I decided that was a landslide and it was time to bring the old forum back. Yeah, that's what it is. So 3 comments in what? I was keeping us surprised. I rang Steve-O today. I said, Steve-O, will you come on this? He says, I'm really hungover. I said, yeah, so what's the difference? What's the difference to what you used to do? Like, this is just normal stuff for you, you know what I mean? Anyway, lads, we'll start to keep a hint of the winners and losers just in case Gav checks in at some stage, like 15 minutes into this or something. He's going to enjoy the first 10 minutes of this show. It's brilliant. Us not knowing whether we're live or not. But secondly, where are we? Right, tonight we've got cling film, we've got cheese, we've got rampant rabbits, we've got winners and losers. Got excited there. I thought someone was going to answer.
Hello.
It's probably very late for him, to be fair.
Yeah, maybe check their channel. Maybe he's live at the moment on their channel.
Oh, it could be. Could be
live. I bet he's watching, Andy.
It could be with Jan.
Yeah. Indeed.
Would it be mad if Yamobi answered his phone? That will be a word twist to everything.
All right, Andy. Right. The Kevin Silver says, check me DM. Okay, hang on a second. I'll check my DM now. Yeah.
We could talk about James Milner while you're checking your DMs.
Okay, so lads, go talk about something while I check my DMs here. Somebody's slide. There we go. Look, see that magic? There you go, lads. The comments are up beside. We have everything rolling and rolling. Good man, Chris. Thanks very much. It's
someone says it's like watching a car crash. That's not very fair.
Which is addictive. Which is addictive.
That's exactly what Phil was going for.
Hi, Chris.
It's your man. Who was that?
Right, where are we?
It looked like
that's Chris.
I know, yeah.
No, it's fantastic. I was going to get everyone to line up in the studio tonight, and we just bring random people in just for a laugh. Okay, so where are we? Right, Chris has fixed it. I know he fixed it for us, Christian. We can see it. Stop hiding there. Just come in and say well done for fixing it. It's great, isn't it? I hope.
I thought you knew it, so I left you to it.
Look at Chris just living in his pod area all the time.
Well, I do. I've got nowhere else to live apart from here.
If you stay there too long, Trev will appear.
No. I'm not happy though. I'm going.
Trev and Yamobi just walking into the shot now. That it feels like one of those nights that could actually happen.
I'm not happy though. I'll leave you to it. Enjoy yourselves.
Cheers, Chris. Talk to you later, bud. Right, where were we? Andy, we're starting this. It's the winners and losers show. James Milner, what do you want to talk about? Was he a winner? Is he a loser? Is he the best mate? What's the crack with him?
I don't even know. All I know is he's great, isn't he? You know, isn't it? It's not fair to say. Like, he come on off the right. Everybody coming towards the end of last season during the summer, all the talk as usual. This is Milner's last season, and here he is again. And, you know, established players that you would consider undroppable come off the pitch, and Milner comes on and has a positive impact. And yeah, every season we seem to say that Milner is not going to play any minutes. His legs are gone. He's waning off. But I think it was unlucky the way the pen came as the momentum was with us. And I think it was Milner that took the game with a scruff of the neck. Between him and Nunez, to be fair, started to create all that havoc. So look, I think we're going to be saying this for the next 20 years, and Milner's still going to be coming on the pitch and doing these things. I just think it's mad. It's brilliant. He's a great bloke.
You love him, don't you?
I do.
You love him from the very off.
Well, I think, you know what it is? It's exactly what Klopp said afterwards. The attitude was off. When have you ever known James Milner's attitude not to be bang on the money? Like, it's everything he is. His attitude is just perfect. And it's why we'll miss him a huge amount when he does eventually leave the club, or when he stays on the coach role, that'd be great. But his attitude is next to none. It's brilliant. And he kind of started doing things on the pitch that nobody else was doing. A pair of balls, getting in behind, pointing, showing the way. And I just love the bloke. It's great.
That's great. Pete, do you want to say anything different to that?
No, listen, the same as we were saying off air with Shane. My worry in these games is always, as always, I always say it, how are Liverpool going to cope with being everybody's cup final every season? I mean, the promoted team, one of the better sides in the championship, certainly with the best goal scorer probably the championship has ever seen. And, everybody's attitude just not there. And it's the one concern I always have about us. But I think Andy's right. Milner's attitude is always spot on. Milner's a born winner. And you can tell that he's been places where the expectations are very high. And I don't care what it takes for him to hang around. But his presence, some guys' presence alone just reminds people of what the standards are at this club. Milner's attitude set the standard. It's the same way as, the same Egypts, which we'll talk about in my winners topic. The same Egypts that kind of write people like Milner off. Don't understand the importance of that kind of influence around a football club because they don't understand football, to be quite frank. The same Egypts moan about Henderson. And for some reason, when these guys aren't around, sometimes it can be a little bit rudderless unless things go, right start to finish. But no, for me, Andy's spot on, completely spot on with regard to Milner. The sort of fella you only really miss when he's not around the place.
Shane, are you going to say anything that just disagrees with them at all?
No. Listen,
Phil is.
Do you know why I love him? He absolutely smashes the back doors after running in pre-season and makes a show of all the youngsters. So that's why, and he doesn't take himself too serious either because he gets involved with that bar and James Milner account and all that. So I'd say he's an absolute top fella. And
there was a deadly picture. Sorry for just totally cutting across you there.
I was finished.
Just when you said about smashing the young fellas, like did you see him in the dressing room after, not smashing the young fellas, but he was in the dressing room after the game and everybody was on their phones and he was just like, you could tell he's just looking around going, this is a joke, get off your phones, you saps. It wasn't the most prestigious trophy that we have to win it, but nonetheless it was a moment that the team should have been celebrating together, and they're on their blowers and he's just like looking around going, I'm wasting my time with this punch. It was brilliant.
Great lads, that's fantastic. I'm delighted that the future of our title winning season rests in the hands of 84-year-old James Milner. I should have got the lads on from the Paddy Power lads, should I? Andy, we'll come back to that in a minute. Right, Pete.
Talk about that. I love that.
Pete, what version of Liverpool are great are you going for this week as your winner?
No, I'm steering away from Liverpool, and you've just teased it there. My winner this week, Paddy Power. And for me, very, very simply, there's a lot of betting apps and stuff like that. We don't encourage people either way, bet responsibly and all that. But Paddy Power, whoever's running, whether it's himself, I wouldn't be surprised because he seems to be a character, or somebody that's just got their finger on the pulse. It's obviously somebody that's on the platform as often as anybody who understands. I won't name any names, but understands who the Egypts are. To be quite honest with you, understands. I would hazard to guess whoever's running the app, to be honest with you, for Paddy Power, is probably a Liverpool supporter because they rag non-stop on Manchester United, slag Arsenal in the way we do, and they would talk about Liverpool affectionately, self-slagging in the way we slag certain Liverpool fans on the app. And the ad that he's after spending a good few quid on, which myself and Shane simultaneously combusted watching at the weekend. It's just absolutely spot on the money. Just spot on the money. It's not, you can tell it's not just fellas coming in and saying, oh, this is what they're saying. You can see that it's personal for me, enjoys it, or whoever runs is running the app absolutely enjoys it. But it nails the fan base, the online fan base, and some of the actors, like the fella that plays the real Liverpool supporter, absolutely top notch stuff.
Andy,
really,
I heard,
my winner was Paddy Power.
I couldn't get over the amount of people using this as their claim to fame. Like this, right? So I didn't know what
one of them was looking for the fucking mention or a few quid or something like that.
So this is what I was going to get on to, Davo, right? So this is what I couldn't get it, right? So I didn't know when you said Paddy Power, I was like, what is this lunatic talking about? Like at this stage, right? Because how is this Liverpool are great? Paddy Power, right? Do you know what I mean? Like you've done every angle, so I was there going, this is an interesting one, right? Then I saw the video. I think it was just because Andy responded to it, right? And to be fair, Andy, you're right. Why you didn't get you on just to play yourself at the top of that classroom is completely beyond me, right? Let's be honest about it, right? So it's like that's straight. But the people that were mentioning,
I'll come clean. I was asked to do it.
Well, yeah,
no surprise there.
I couldn't.
But you wouldn't have been able to stay. But you wouldn't have been able to stay calm had you been in the room with the lads. No.
I couldn't. I couldn't do a good enough Scouse accent. I had to audition for that, and I wasn't able to do it. And they wanted somebody a good bit older than me to play the part. They thought I was too much of a young fella, like with the rest of the gang.
You should have just sent.
You look like a young fella there.
Yeah, that's what they. That's what they said. They wanted someone that could remember the 80s, and they knew that I wouldn't be able.
That was actually there.
Yeah.
True. Now,
but look,
the one thing I want to ask you, right, is, and this is genuine about the thing, right? I think the ad is brilliant. I think it reflects a lot of things that we've spoke about in the various incarnations of this podcast, which was the original Trippers podcast going back to the very start, right? And I've always been one to say, yeah, Grant, talk, discuss, criticize, but keep it real. Be able to have an open position so that if your opinion changes, you don't look like a Berk, right? Like that's basically it, right? I still can't get over that the likes of the fellas that are named in that have suddenly have basically got their validation from the fact that they've been called out for being people who haven't the breeze about what the game is about and what support is about. I can't get over it, right? And it's going back to Davo's point. They're on looking for either a few quid for being called out on it or recognition for being on it when they're too scared to come on podcasts. They're too scared to come on a platform like this. And you've asked one of them on multiple times to come on and debate their points from FSG to players and everything else, right? And they don't have the bottle to do it, yet they're happy to try take. All they want is oxygen. All they want is exposure. And as much as I like the concept and the idea of the Paddy Power ad, it's after giving them that exposure and it's after giving them that oxygen. And that's the one thing that gets me about it. So that's my little rant on that piece.
Look, it's the validation that they get from it, and they take it as a compliment. Like Paddy, let's not forget, like Paddy Power have no skin in the game. It's not like they want Liverpool to not make signings. They want Liverpool. They're not top reds. They're just a betting company, and they've made a few observations, and they've made a complete laugh out of the type of fans we have online. You know, it's at this stage, it's just a parody, you know, they're just a joke. And it didn't take them long to do a little bit of research, and all of a sudden they've named out a few people. And look, for as long as we've been doing this podcast, there's been social media there, and we've been calling out the type of fans that these are, you know, and it's getting worse every season. Like, you know, emotive opinion or anything that's like short-sighted or reactionary to something is currency now. Like the worst thing you can come up with is what is giving you likes and retweets. You can't have a balanced debate. Like if I sat here and said, you know, we need a midfielder because although we have 9 midfielders, the amount of injuries they have, they equate to 4 real midfielders, and we've 3 positions we probably need it. But the way they go about it is, look at the first half there on Saturday. Tell me that we don't need a midfielder. But we've 3 of our most recognised best midfielders in the club that played. You know, and although a lot of them don't recognise Henderson, the fact remains he is important to that midfield. And Pep Linder says it in his book, the intensity that he gives. And it's still such an important. But hot takes, slaughtering players like Fabinho, Thiago, and Henderson straight after a game isn't the reason why we need midfielders. it's the balanced, measured opinion is that, okay, well, if you look at it, we should probably be looking at moving 1 or 2 out and bringing 1 or 2 that are reliable in. I mean, that's Klopp's job to do. But I think Klopp has built up enough equity at this stage to know what he's doing and to make the right moves at the right time. It's not going to be a crisis. All these big words come in after games. It's a fucking draw against Fulham, the first day of the season. They've just been promoted. They're at home. Plays like a madhouse. They're biting at our ankles. And our players couldn't cope. And the attitude was off. The approach was off. We showed them. But it's a lesson learned very early. And it's not just time to call for new players. It's time to call for the players to just get their heads back in the game and restart against Palace at home, next week. Not get midfielders, get players. We need players. We need shiny. We need this. Get him out. Get him fucking in. Blah, blah, blah. This fucking mentalness that goes on. And Paddy Power just sitting back and having a laugh, and the amount of traction that's caused. And even Lindo coming in and today was brilliant.
Lindo. This is your
people that know what call him
mates. Is that what like the
I didn't say Lindo, but okay, Lindo for now on. You did
Lindo call it Lindo. You can check in tomorrow.
Lindo means lovely in Spanish. Something
in all seriousness as well. We're banging this drum a long time. It's not just harmless comments online. It's the toxicity of it all that creeps into players' minds. Like we know already that Nunez is a bit sensitive to comments online, even though he's just mad into plastering himself online, pictures himself. But he did have a moment.
So would I if I look like him, man.
Yeah, true. I know it's a bit of a balancing act, but a few years ago there was comments about him and it got to him. And it gets to these new modern players, like the younger players, that they do look up themselves, and it's just a fact of it's a fact of modern football now is they look on social media for recognition and if you want your team that you're supposed to support to have these marginal edges, like we've Klopp bringing in throwing coaches and set piece coaches and all sorts and psychologists and all to give those little marginal advantages coming up against City, who are the highest finance team that's ever been in the Premier League, and our own fans are just going against the club constantly. It creeps in, and when you have a result, it's a poor result against Fulham, you start to maybe doubt yourself and say, maybe they have a point. Then that creeps into the ground, and it's not good. It needs to stop. And I know that likes and retweets are more important than wins and trophies to these fellas, but you need to have a look at yourself, and what's going to give the club a marginal edges is proper support. The type of support they get in the ground, do it online. Why not?
I know, Shane.
But look at that, like, just to come in there, Phil, it's just pure spoiled. Do you know what I mean? Look, I remember being on early pods with you, like going back, and I remember saying, and I've probably made peace that I mightn't see Liverpool win the league the way things are going and blah, blah, blah. Then other fans would say to me, but look at you being blessed, you've seen your team win every trophy, part of the league. And we'd say, yeah, fair enough, that's fair. And then look, Klopp comes in and we win every trophy that's available to us, part of the Europa League. In the 7 years or so that he's been here. Of course, we could have won more. But United could have won more over Ferguson. They threw a couple of leagues away in the last day and whatnot. Other teams will always say, well, we could have won a bit more. Of course, we could have won a bit more, but we didn't. But we won what we fucking won. So, listen, we just keep going, keep doing what we're doing. Midfielder, no midfielder. Like, the boys aren't going to throw the towel in, so just fucking get behind it.
But I guess and it sort of wraps in the Linda thing, and it's probably coming onto one of the topics, Andy, you had as well around the hot takeists, right? One of the things that I've always prided about the podcast as a whole, right, is that yes, we do the reactionary stuff, which is like the post game, like Chris and Kev are doing that now, and the lads on the Fatback Forum in terms of dealing with that as a topic. But we always stood back as the week started with and tried to look at the overall picture, and like. What frustrated me and what drives me insane is the type of stuff that gets posted to players and to the owner, to the owner's wife. It's like, I know, Andy, we said that Linda is like the winner of the week because she knows how to handle the social media side of it. Like, and she's been exceptional in terms of what's gone on with the stuff that goes on. But the Paddy Power ad, puts a funny take on something, which is, as I've gotten older, as I've gotten more rounded as a person, once you don't get involved in this type of stuff, you just don't understand why people think that by tweeting somebody on a social media platform some mad stuff, and the stuff that gets sent to players, like I can have a take on a player, I can have a feeling about a player, I can dislike a player, I can like a player, whatever it is, but to tag that person in a tweet, and I'm sure somebody would dig up a tweet that I had, but to tag that person in and then relentlessly tag people in, thinking that by tagging them in they're going to make your dream come true, it's not going to happen. Like, there's no point tagging in Linda, there's no point tagging John Henry, there's no point tagging FSG or whoever it is that runs the club and tell them to buy a midfielder. That's nothing to do with that. All they do is sign the checks. There's a whole sports science structure that sits behind the club. There's a whole piece that fans think, and I think it's definitely a younger piece, and there's an element of narcissism that flows through the way people are sitting at the moment, is that their take is so important that somebody is going to sit up in an office, pay attention to it, and react purely because they sent it and they're saying it so many times. The reality is, these are multi-million dollar, pound corporations that have a sophisticated way of recruiting and all this. And I think people need to look at what Klopp said, that we aren't just going to panic buy. We're not just going to buy something for the short term. And if they don't understand this, we had no centre backs. We were playing a cat, a cone, and one of the trusses as a centre back at one stage 2 years ago, right? You know, and we could have gone out and they bought centre backs. They bought bodies. Do you remember you got your man in alone, the Greek fella who went off and played somewhere, I think Leicester or something after that. And we bought your man Ben Davis because they thought it was the Spurs Ben Davis who got lost on a train at Sheffield or something, right? Like, that was the last time I've seen this. But that was because they needed bodies, because they were actually terrified at that stage. Hendo was out. Nat Phillips, I think, was injured at that point. They literally had no centre backs. They're almost at the verge of playing. They played when you had them at centre back. What am I saying? Like, that's how far it got to where it was. And yet they still tweeted, Linda sign him, Linda sign him, Linda sign him. It's insane. It's completely insane. This level that people are at this stage. So
it's the instant gratification, though, isn't it? That's what modern society is. That's what that's what people are being brought up with these days. Like, fucking Instagram reels and TikTok. It's just instant. Scroll down, next more. Like, make signings, make things better, quick. You know, but with football, it is a process. And when we signed Kabak and Davis on loan, Kanate was obviously on the way, but it just couldn't happen in January. So there was no point in buying someone else as a replacement. There was all these names being bandied around, players playing in France, Germany, fucking you name it. But they weren't going to do that. They had to, people, decision makers had to just say, okay, hang on, relax. We're bringing Kanate in the summer. Let's take a measured risk here. Bring the boys in. Davis didn't even play a minute of football, real football anyway. And they got away with playing Kabak and Nat Phillips. And in the end, we got top 4. Like, if that's not evidence for you to just say, relax. Like, football doesn't work like TikTok.
Mm-hmm. No. I think the key, you're right. The key takeaway, though, from it's like you said, I think earlier, Phil. I mean, years ago, before all this social media phenomenon, if somebody had been mentioned on television, for example, in an advertisement campaign, they would have felt shame. Like, I won't mention the names, but they would have felt shame. Oh, look, I'm an agent in front of the world. Now they're running to the hill saying, oh, isn't it great that I've been mentioned as a fucking agent, as you say, Andy? And that's where the world is now. It's almost better to be recognized as being the biggest fool on a platform than not recognized at all. That's the scary part. Like, yeah, and I don't know how this chap thinks he's going to monetize it, because there's no money on this planet in being a fool, unless somebody wants to tell me different,
But Pete, isn't this and Andy, this was your loser of the week, was the hot takest. It's like, isn't this a symptom of what you're saying? It's everything at the moment. Celebrity and fame is not about doing something. It's about just being there and shouting the loudest. Like, look at my daughter was watching this Love Island thing for weeks, right? And I've no idea what happened. All I know is Michael Owen's daughter was on it, right? Because I saw somebody tweeting about Michael Owen's daughter, and I was there going, this is insane, right? Now, this is properly insane. Why are you, what fame used to be about? You did something that was different and showed
Saleable.
skill.
Saleable at least. Yeah.
It showed skill and it showed artistry, or it showed knowledge that other people didn't necessarily have, or you had humor, or you had charm, or your charisma that normal people didn't have, and that's what it was. Fame nowadays is if you shout loud enough, or if you take pictures of yourself a certain way, or if you talk about whatever, something, not us on this channel anyway, but if you talk about toys or something like that, it's like millions of people are watching it. Like my son was talking about the Beast. I've no idea what he was talking about. I thought like, was actually, is this cool? Like, is this something? It's not some fella who reviews toys and does things on YouTube. 100 million subscribers. Look, I don't, like, honestly. But to be fair to him, he's doing something. He's not on there tweeting whatever he thinks in his head and just thinking that this is what it is. I look at the reaction after the match on Saturday. And there was no sense, very few of the reactions that exist brought any level of level-headedness to what was going on. I can understand the emotions after a game because you're riled up about the result, right? But in reality, the position is the first game of the season. I think it's the first game where we haven't won in the best part of 5 years or something, or since Klopp has come in. It's the first. Eventually, that was going to happen. We didn't lose, which is a big thing. You had to draw. It's disappointing.
Despite playing probably worse than we have for a couple of years. Not since like the season when there was no fans on the ground and that. Can just respond to a comment there, right? Brandon Alexander. What are these guys talking about? Did they not see Liverpool need a midfielder? Nobody's saying Liverpool don't need a midfielder. Just saying, like, you don't need to throw the toys out of the pram. Yeah. As Phil says, there's a whole host of specialists working within the club to try and identify these gaps and bring the right players in. It's not likely Liverpool are just going to go out and add to the squad. It's more likely that they need to shift someone out from midfield. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Andy, I don't understand.
Knox is probably going to be one of the first out of that group to go, and now he's injured. So, sorry, mate. I hate to disappoint you. We all like to have new players. We just don't go on like children about it. That's all.
I don't understand these fellas.
I listened to Klopp after. I listened to Klopp's press conference, the one that he actually done with the press. I only listened to it today, and he knows, like you said, the specialists working there. He said, and he just basically said, "Listen, the issue is that we don't have enough midfielders." He says that's fine. He says we have enough. He says the problem is a lot of them are injured. And it's not good. That's basically what he said. It's not good. A transfer needs to make sense for now and in the future. But the position we're in at the minute is not good. Like, them comments would make me think that we might be looking to do something. Or if we can't do something, we will. But so they know. Like, everyone there knows, listen, it's not fucking great. Everyone's, or X amount of players are out injured. Hendo went down a couple of times with Knox as well on Saturday. That like, another day he has to go as well. So, like, listen, they know. Like, they know what needs to be done. Can they do it now between now and the end of the window? I don't know. Is the right player there? I don't know. But to think that they're all just sitting there going, "Now, this will be fucking grand." They're not.
But Shane, would these fellas rather we be trying to throw 9 or 10 million at Adrian Rabiot and Marko Arnautovic? You know, people that haven't been good enough. Rabiot wasn't good enough for his last 4 clubs, and Arnautovic has been probably 2 stone overweight, you know, for the last 2 or 3 seasons, and is now nearly 34 years of age. Is that what they would prefer? I honestly don't understand these people.
Look, John O'Dare saying Klopp sounded silly. It's like he's shocked that our midfielders are injured. They're always injured. I mean, maybe it's just not that simple to try and sell an injury-prone player. You know, they're all on big contracts. They're all getting very well paid for being injured. And unfortunately, you know, the way it is now, we've quite a few players. Like I say, we've probably 9 centre midfielders. But then at the same time, it's opening doors for players like, you know, Elliott to get his career going again. Look how good he was at the start of last season before he got his knock. He was decent at the weekend. I mean, I think there's a lot to be hopeful there. Carvalho after coming in, I mean, that lad has talent. You know what I mean? So look, players getting injured opens the door for these. It's just unfortunate that so many of our most senior players are injured at the same time. You know, it wouldn't be so bad if they just dovetailed and got injured at different stages of the season. Like Henderson's well able to jump into the 6, as we know, and offers cover there. But in reality, someone needs to go. He's not going to sell. He's not going to just release Henderson, Fabinho, Thiago, Keita, Ox. I mean, you just
Ox was gone. Ox was gone. Only got injured. 10 million was the price. Someone was going to stump up 10 million.
But Davo, can I just?
He was gone, but he done his hammer badly.
But can I just jump in? Because this is actually annoying me, right? We don't sign players, and if people haven't copped this in the last 3 seasons, I don't like it. It goes back to Andy's hot takeists. It's the immediacy of now. It's not looking at what the bigger picture is. We know that Klopp is prepared to gamble to keep the squad that he's had through pre-season training and has them in the exact condition and positions that he wants them to be. So even knows that if they get injured, when they come back, the ramp-up period is a lot shorter than it would be if you bring somebody new in now who's missed the whole pre-season part. We also know that he will only sign a player, and we call out this for years until Klopp came in here. He will only sign a player if he believes the player is good enough to go into the first team. He doesn't buy a player to improve the squad. He buys a player who's better than the players that he has that's in the first three. Look at who we signed in the summer. He signed Nunez because he believed he was going to change how the team is set up and how he plays. He signed Carvalho, and I'm look, my hot take, but I've said this when I was on. I'm still not a massive fan of Luis Diaz. I think he's all flash and no product. And people will say to me, he was the biggest threat in the first half of the game on Saturday. We were crap in the first half on Saturday, right? But at the end of the day, he doesn't score many goals, right? I think Fabio Carvalho will become a bigger fixture and a bigger impact on that team than Luis Diaz by the end of the season. And that's just my opinion. But that's because of what I've watched and what I'm watching in pre-season. And every time that little kid Carvalho comes on, I think he's brilliant. He electrifies me the way I'm meant to be electrified by Diaz, and I think he's more end product than Diaz has. Now, people can agree, disagree, but that's where I feel about that, right? But that's because I'm stepping back and looking at this over a longer span and saying, what is it that concerns me about the players there? And then I look at, we've got Carvalho. He's already said he played Elliott in midfield last season before he got injured. He's saying Carvalho can play in midfield, right? The issue here is not that first part of the top end of the midfield. The issue is what happens if Thiago gets injured, because he only plays about 75% of the games, and that's what he does, right? What happens if Hendo gets injured? And what happens if Fabinho gets injured? People losing the shit over what happened on Saturday. I guarantee you that the lads that played in midfield, they were the same lads who played against Manchester City the week beforehand and tore Manchester City apart, right? It's ridiculous. You can have a bad game, and that's just the way it is, right? That's football. We saw it 2 seasons ago, and this season is going to, mark my words, if you want a long-termist view, this season is going to be absolutely crackers, right? This is going to be like the season after the season we won the league, because you have the World Cup slap bang in the middle, and the amount of games that's going to have to be played before and the amount of games that gets piled into the back end of the season. Whatever team comes through this period with the least amount of injuries after the World Cup, with the least amount of players at the World Cup, is going to have the best chance of the run-ins. So all you need to do at this point in time is to be within 6 to 9 points of the top to be able a valid shout when it breaks for the World Cup for the run-in at the back end of the season. If we can be there, given that we were like 14 points off it in January last season, people are losing their plots over whatever. You've got a break in, and we've got the least amount of players going, I think, in the top 6 squads that's going to the World Cup. So cop on. Right? That's
Phil, Jono makes a rational point, and it's on the back of what Shawnee was saying last night. Like, we're relying on midfielders who have proven time and again to be unreliable. But that's 100% right. But you have to be able to move one of them out. And I think Ox was the one to move out, and now he's got injured. I mean, it's not so straightforward. I mean, what do we do? Just get rid of Thiago?
Release him, sell him.
You know, or
Henderson.
It's not going to happen in reality.
But this is it, and this is where we are now. Before we move on, I have to tell you something, because if I don't, Gav will annoy me. So, Red Steve, turn off your sound for the moment. Did you know that browsing online using incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? That's right. Without added security, you might as well give away all your private data to hackers, advertisers, your ISP, and other prying eyes. IPVanish VPN. To make it easy to stay truly private and secure on the internet, IPVanish helps you safely browse the internet by encrypting 100% of your data. This means that your private details, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be completely shielded from falling into the wrong hands. Even your physical location will be hidden. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. It's that simple. You can use IPVanish on a limited device. This is very long. Without sacrificing on speed, your computers, tablets, phones, even devices like Fire Stick when you're streaming media, whether I'm at home or in public. I don't go online anymore without using IPVanish. IPVanish is offering an incredible 70% off their yearly plan for our listeners with a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's just like getting 9 months for free. IPVanish is super easy to use. All you have to do is tap one button and you're instantly protected. You won't even know it's on. Stop sharing the world with everything you stream, everything you search for, and everything you buy. Take your privacy back today with a brand rated 4.6 out of 5 on Trustpilot. So go to ipvanish.com/daytrippers and claim your 70% savings. That's ipvanish.com/daytrippers. There you go. That was really that's my winner of the week. IPVanish. Davo, who's your winner of the week?
Oh, Nunez, Darwin Nunez, the bright spark of the weekend. Centre forward, very important to get off the mark with a goal. Got one last week, set up the penalty, won the penalty last week. Goal Saturday and an assist, changed the game when he came on. Movement excellent. Absolute fucking handful for centre backs. I'd say they were playing in their fucking bollocks with them. I'd say the two Fulham lads did anyway. They only had a half an hour of them. So, look, all my stuff was kind of short and sharp tonight, Phil, so I can go to bed. But, look, at my winner of the week, Darwin Nunez. Absolute. I thought he was class when he came on. I thought he was really, really good. Really good.
Changed the game, really.
Andy, Darwin Nunez, winner of the week for you.
Yeah. He was excellent. He doesn't have to do much. You know what I mean? He just imposes himself. He just gets in the way, and like he's the type of player we haven't had for a long time. And I think I said it last week as well. We don't know what's in store with him. He's going to get better and better at Liverpool. The players around him, the service he's going to get, the work around him, trying to get the ball into his feet. He's a threat in the air. It's just going to be so exciting to have a player like that around. And it was a good option. That they often say we don't really have a plan B, but when he came off the bench, it was a totally different approach to the game, especially for Firmino, who wasn't really even being normal Firmino. Like, he didn't even drop deep and didn't even impose himself in the game. It was just it was excellent, and it was just unfortunate the way the penalty came along with the momentum our way. It was such an unlikely for Van Dijk to get caught in his heels like that and give away a penalty. It just didn't look like him at all. But I think only for that we were winning the game, and we probably would have went on and scored another one. It's just Fulham got their tails up after that. So it could have been such a big difference, a better debut for him. But it's brilliant, the goal and assist, and we probably didn't even mean his assist. In fairness, probably didn't even mean a lot of the stuff but he's just, once he's there and the ball's bouncing around, it's a nightmare for defenders. He's so physical and quick as well.
P.
Yeah, a fella like that, pace, very, very good in the air, very, very strong, and loads of confidence. And you can see that he is a confidence player. In fairness, I haven't seen him drop his head. And he's one of those that a manager would say to him, look, just make yourself a nuisance, even if it's not coming off you. Go out there and just get amongst it. I think he changed the game. Fellas look for him. He's an option. I don't like when Liverpool, not that we go long, I don't like the idea of us doing the plan B stuff, but it's more running the channels, being he's a great option with his back to goal as well. And he doesn't half know how to pull out a finish. I mean, that finish was, what he was, whether it was an own goal or was his, that finish is just outrageous. At 1-0 down, like he's bags of confidence. You can see he scored a whole load of goals last year. He's going to get a lot of goals for us, and he does. He brings another dimension to what we do. So yeah, it's for me. I completely agree with Shane. Winner of the week, considering his age, considering obviously how it affects him, and I think you guys mentioned it a little bit earlier on that he does read things that possibly should ignore. But he's human, and some fellas react in a different way, and he's only keen to answer. And right now he keeps coming off the bench and answering by doing what he's paid to do. So for me, 8 out of 10. The only disappointment was not grabbing another one, and we conceded that stupid penalty, minimum contact. But Mitrovic was cute, I thought, going down when he should, and Virgil should have known better. But winner of the week definitely.
I'm delighted that Nunez is scoring. right? I've probably led the charge with the. He just reminds me an awful lot of Andy Carroll before it became hot takes
That was the hair. That was the hair.
Twitter. But I will say, Andy Carroll has positive elements to his game, and I think, and I said I was with Steve-O last week, and I was saying to him, I said people take the as a slur. I actually think that there's some elements of Andy Carroll's game that Nunez has in better football and ability. That physicality and the enjoyment of the fight, right? There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong. That's what you want. If you're going to be a big striker, a big physical striker, and you're going to have to celebrate. You're going to have to enjoy the physical side of the game. I hate saying it, but Zlatan that's what he fed off of. That's what he loves. He loves getting the physicality. But he loved the physical side of the game. He loved getting in there and then utilizing his physique to manipulate the situation and create the goals that he scored. So yeah, I'm delighted. I'm delighted.
But sure, look at Carroll. The season when the half season with Newcastle when we signed him, like he was absolutely phenomenal, scoring all sorts of goals, and like that, it could have been totally different for him. His lifestyle off the pitch probably didn't help. The injuries obviously didn't help. The move when he came to Liverpool, probably the timing wasn't great either. But like Darwin Nunez is probably a professional version of Andy Carroll. He's not out in the boozer every night, and he's not falling off bar stools, and he's in an unbelievable nick. And look, I'm excited. I think we've landed exactly what we've needed, you know. And at the time when we dealt with Carroll a lot, I don't think there's any doubts over Nunez.
No, and I think Andy, you're right there. I think that's the other thing. Hopefully, it he continues on the trajectory he goes, and like I for me anyway, my winner of the week would have been Haaland, especially after the Charity Shield. Like he was missing, like the chances he missed. You're just going, Jesus, is this going to be one of these bogey signings? You know, where Chelsea used to sign centre forwards that were the best centre forwards in the world and just turned to absolute dog shit when they got there, right? But I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting because this is going to be. This whole thing is going to play out Nunez Haaland across the course of the season, especially.
I think you've got a point.
And then Salah will end up as top scorer.
Yeah,
exactly. Everyone keep bashing away, and then Salah. He's just wonderful, isn't he? He's just a magician. He's just,
you're right. But I think Haaland will when City, in the rare occasion that they can't get through against, you know, they have the nil-alls against the crap teams. I have a saying, you know, fellas like Haaland take out the trash very well. You know, you get the 3s and 4s against the Nottingham Forest and the Bournemouth. But I think Nunez might have the edge in the big games. Nunez seems to want to get in amongst. I looked at Haaland a couple of times against us, and he seemed, to be honest with you, terrified of Virgil van Dijk. He tried to run at Virgil van Dijk a couple of times, and Virgil van Dijk just stood all over him. He seems to have a thing about Virgil van Dijk.
People won't be worrying about running affairs of Van Dijk if suddenly he's got how to play on his tippy toes. He was playing on his heels for most of that game.
The one man, it's like doubting Paul McGrath. Do not doubt Virgil van Dijk. No matter what he does, what he doesn't do. Overall,
actually, I'll tell you what. I know we're going to get onto your loser there, people. This one here, I actually want to agree here. The referees have ruined my watching of the game, and I'm not going to go into a big rant about it. But if you wanted to put in losers of the week, it's shocking. It's shocking that these fellas, at best, they're going to let you hear what they were talking to each other after a game. Now, wait, just play it live. Just play it live.
No,
at least
they won't do that.
You must be.
Do you know what I mean? But Andy, that's transparency, and the problem we have in this world at the moment, the problem with football and in general around the referees is the lack of transparency. Every time you see it on a league where they have this, the referees tend to be better, and the decisions tend to be better. And I wonder why that is. No, but wonder why that is, because immediately there's transparency.
You're touching on a point here that involves my losers, to be honest with you. What are you talking about transparency?
Go on. Transparency. I know you want to talk about transparency. This is like Kling film. If Miranda Cheese was here, he'd be getting really excited.
Well,
Kling film.
My loser of the week, then, if we're going to talk about transparency, is the Donald Trump of world football, which is Barcelona. I mean, Donald Trump said a couple of years ago that he could walk out in the streets in Times Square in New York, shoot somebody in the head and get away with it. And people laughed at the time, but it's true. I mean, it's true. And I don't want to talk about that fat idiot. What I want to talk about is Barcelona Football Club and the fact that the latest and greatest, I mean, every day there's a new scandal about Barcelona. The latest and greatest about Barcelona is that they formed a shell company offshore, declared an investment of, I think it was something like 200 million euros. It was found out, and now they have to pay 38.7 or 38.8 million euros in taxes. So it's basically fraud on a massive scale. And it's funny, when I read this last night, I thought back to Bury Football Club, who owed 50,000 euros to the inland revenue in 2018 and had to fold within 6 weeks. Now, the reason I compare both is because Bury are 14 years older than Barcelona as an entity, as a club. Now, they might be huge, they mightn't be successful, but I don't know, the part of me, I know there are many reasons. Why couldn't Bury survive, and Barcelona could? And it's not just survival with Barcelona. You're talking about this week alone. Barcelona have announced that they want to challenge the validity and organize a criminal investigation against the contract that they drafted and signed for Frankie De Jong, whatever his name is. That they think they're saying that there was criminal activity involved. Now, this is a contract that they drafted along with De Jong's lawyers and their own, and that they signed. Now they want to have a criminal investigation. Now, imagine having the barefaced arrogance to announce that. Barcelona exists, Phil, and it's funny you use the word accountability, and it's a cultural thing, because the league that you're talking about, the Australian league, because of the if you like, the culture in Australia is complete transparency. They call it mateship. You know, even the highest levels, the prime minister is accountable to everybody. But in Spain, it's the complete opposite. Spain, as you know, is 5 principalities that all answer to Madrid. And what happens is each principality will be allowed to have a certain amount of corruption. And when it suits the Spanish government to call them out, i.e. if one of them starts talking about independence, then all of a sudden there'll be all this evidence of the local leader being financially corrupt. That's the cycle of madness in Spain. And that's what's happening now with Barcelona, because Barcelona want to go rogue, to be honest with you, and they want to entertain the idea of being in the Super League. All of a sudden, Tebas and everybody is kind of airing their dirty laundry in public, to be honest. So you want to talk about accountability? There's no accountability in Spain, and it's all about making Barcelona, making sure that Barcelona are sustainable. And to be honest with you, I kind of feel sorry for. I mean, we all hammer City, we hammer other clubs, but what the hell is going on at Barcelona? It's at this stage, it's criminal. It's actually criminal. Potentially. Well, obviously. I mean, you're money laundering and fraud on a massive scale. Scale.
I don't know whether it's money laundering. I think it's inflation of income.
The value
it's inflation of income, and it's also the inflation of assets to enable them to meet whatever the league's regulations is, right? City did do stuff, but the Premier League seemed to have just forgotten about their own investigation that was going on. They just said, we'll just leave that because the UEFA one didn't work, so we won't get involved there. But look, for me, I think it'd be great if and I've long said it about Barcelona. I think it'd be great if they go bust. I think it'd be fantastic for football.
Why do they have the divine right to exist if they can't afford to exist?
Honestly, I genuinely, because they'll come back as Barcelona. As I said, they'll come back as Barcelona 37. This is what they do in Ireland. When a team in Ireland goes bust, they just put 37 after the name. And then when that doesn't happen, they just make up a name like Treaty FC or something like that. It's Treaty FC Limerick now. So anyway, that's what they do. But all being like, I think if you look at what happened to Juventus in Italy when the Calciopoli scandal happened, they got relegated. There was tangible impact to what they did, right?
Same with
match fixing. But there was match fixing. They were relegated. They had to come back up through the leagues. You look at what happened to Verona, Hellas Verona, when they were. No, what was the one that Parma dropped down through the divisions. They went bankrupt and they went dropped down to the 4th division, had to work their way back up to the top tier. In my opinion, you have this as it stands, that you have this monstrous club who has, if you look at the Deloitte rich lists every year, it's either 4th, 2nd, or 3rd now. Yet they've blown every single penny they have. This is the equivalent of 2009. This is Lehman Brothers. This in football terms, this is what you're looking at here. You're looking at one of the biggest clubs on the verge of collapsing because of the way they've been run.
It's the largest debt that's ever existed in football history.
But Shawnee, I was talking to Shawnee about it earlier on, and I thought he made the best point. Why isn't Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid screaming from the rafters? Like if this was us, no, but if this was us and it was Manchester United, right? Or if we were in position Barcelona was, United and Manchester City and all the other teams be screaming for justice to be had, and you can't be having this and the whole lot, right? Let's be honest.
They don't want the audit either, Phil. They don't want the audit
either. If Barcelona are in this situation, then Real Madrid has to be in a similar, because remember they've had the training ground bought 5 times by the county council.
Of course.
And I love the fact that in Spain it's a county council as well. It's great, isn't it? It's very Irish.
The
county council bought it out.
Yeah.
And then you look at Atletico, like they keep buying Morata. So you're not telling me there's nothing dodgy going on there.
How old is he now? 31.
160 million in agent fees.
Agents made 160 million out of his mills. Jesus Christ.
It's not bad going, is it?
No.
Phil, I think Mohammed Jogee makes a good point. They're an institution of world football. The best memories we have European football involves Barca, like shit leadership for the last few years. That's it. I mean, that's what it boils down to. Like, I disagree with Mohammed. I'll tell you why, Andy. Because this has been going on for decades. The difference is there was nothing before like the scrutiny that football is under than what it is decades.
Now with social media and everything. Decades. Well, I mean, these clubs have elections and presidents for a reason. Yeah, this has been going on for a long time, mate. A long time.
Yeah, but it does seem like the level of cheating that's being brought up, is being sort of in recent years, and like even if you go back to, how they got players off us, like Mascherano down in Tills and Coutinho as well, like they've hurt us as a fan base, but we've definitely enjoyed some good games against them, and I think we've all got unbelievable memories of the Ronaldinho teams and the original Ronaldo and that, and that great team that took United apart. I'd hate to see them go to the wall personally. You want to see people that are brought the situation about being held to account, but the club and the fans, it probably doesn't deserve that.
No sympathy for the fans. These are fans that in their droves will, for example, on the presentation last night, presentation of the players, they openly boo the players that they don't rate, and like someone like Braithwaite, who I'm not saying he's good enough to play at that level, but he's there, and he was signed when they couldn't make signings, and they
stitched Levante up when they signed them.
Yeah, I've been there several times. I've been to the new camp, and when Messi was there, they get on to everybody but Messi.
Got the name it wrong. Yeah. It's the Spotify camp now.
Yeah,
that's the name of it now.
Look, P or no, maybe it's a cultural. It's a cultural thing, they've always waved out the white flags and all if they've started to dislike a player, it's not what I'd like to see Liverpool fans doing, but that's their culture and that's kind of the way they've always behaved. Look, Jesus, I mean, I'd hate to see that happen to them.
Now, look, listen, Graham Hunter was on radio over this side. I listened to him, and he was actually blasting the English media for the portrayal of the story over here because they were saying, listen, people are saying Barcelona have no money. He says, they have money. He says, now, the way they're getting it, you mightn't like it, or you mightn't agree with it, or you might think it's morally wrong to sell your TV 10% or 50% of your TV rights. Barca Studios, X, Y, and Z, but he says, stop saying that they've no money. He says, they have money. Now, this is obviously before this story broke today, where they imaginarily came up with 100 million or 150 million to go in with 6th Street and to deal with selling their TV rights, and now they're after getting hit with a tax bill because the Spanish government are saying it's
they tried to claim that it was new income, which means it wouldn't qualify to be taxed until 2023. We're taxed a full year in arrears here, whereas you're taxed on the money every month.
Yeah.
So the Spanish government was like, no, that's your own money. You've paid the tax now.
So that's what he was saying. He was saying, listen, they have money. How are they getting it? You mightn't agree with it like that, but like Andy went back to, like mismanagement. There's actually a book being written recently about how it's all gone tits up at Barca. I can't remember the author, but I heard him telling a story about them negotiating for Dembele they met the previous president. I can't think of his name, Pete, the fella who they were going into negotiate in Monaco. It actually was, and they said, right, listen, we're going to 70 million's our price, and that's it.
Yeah,
they rocked into the room. Dortmund fella shook their hands, stood up after.
Bartomeu, maybe was it?
It was Bartomeu. We've a plane to catch. We have to go. Its price is 108 million. Take it or leave it. And the boys shook hands and took it. Now, if you're running a football club like that, Dortmund basically just took them to the cleaners.
Leeds under Ridge.
Sorry, Pete. But sorry, Pete. Let me bring that right back to where we started from, right? Because that's exactly when people are screaming for a new midfielder for Liverpool, they want us to do. Look at the end result. You deal with
chaos.
This is where you end up. Eventually, it's the Leeds situation. And I know what you're saying about that. Those memories of those Ronaldinho teams, the Ronaldo teams, all those teams, they'll still be there. They will still exist. If they go to the wall, honestly, if they go bankrupt or liquidated or whatever it is.
PK's taking another pay cut, just released there. PK's taking another pay cut.
Well, you wouldn't believe what they're trying to do.
They'll be paying him when he's 60.
You wouldn't believe what they're trying to do.
This goes back to my point. If they go, then without having to completely implement fair play or anything in UEFA, at least there seems to be a impact, a result, right? You look at the smaller teams, the Berries of the world, all these smaller teams that are allowed go because they just aren't big enough in world football. You take one of the biggest teams in world football and liquidate them. There is a wake-up call for every single other club that wants to be a big club or emulates to be a big club. Bayern operate within their structure. We're operating within our structure. Whether the fans like it or not, we're operating within a structure which will ensure we don't end up where Barcelona is. We were close to it. This is the thing. We were close to this, right? We could have gone. It's unlikely it would have happened. Let's be honest about it, but we could have gone. They're at the door. They're at the door. They're knocking on the door of annihilation. And at some stage, a big team is going to go. And in my view, if you're going to go, let one of the biggest go, and then we'll see what happens.
To show the world, you're right, Phil, in one thing. Barcelona, over the last 6 years, have tied all of their major players down to huge contracts. Huge, like the likes of PK, Busquets, all of them were given massive deals to maintain. And now they're screwed, basically.
Woohoo! Phenomenal. Rob, that's literally the hour. You're on the timer. There's an alarm clock inside there, and the frying pan's going to be out now in a minute. You're going to get backed over the head with it. It's going to look like something out of Vic and Bob.
In fairness, I think she hit snooze at 10 o'clock. She gave him 3 more minutes. Fairness.
3 more minutes.
Anything else, lads? Since we're going to, and then we wrap it up. Nope.
Look, Thiago's out for 6 weeks. My loser of the week was Liverpool. Really, just the way everything unfolded on Saturday. Poor performance from really everybody. Bar Nunez. I thought Elliott was good when he came on, but the injury to Thiago, it's just.
Shane, that's a hot take. You're in the hot take.
You're asking me to give you a loser for the weekend. I gave you one. I says we're in a season. We're in the game now. 92 points doesn't win your league now.
How can you possibly put us into the loser of the week when you have United beaten by Brighton against the team that's playing 3-box-3? This is a new formation that I found out today where they've removed the middle number of the players and just put in a box. 3-box-3 is the latest thing. We've got Everton getting beaten at home.
Actually, I read that on that. Where was it?
Yeah, but we've Everton getting beaten at home, and then they've gone and signed Connor Cody, who's a massive red. That's going to go down. That's like when Rafa signed as the manager, right? Connor Cody now, make him the captain and everything of what's going on.
Here, that's not the real Gav Doyle. That's that Cork dope, isn't it?
Who?
That's pretending to be Gav Doyle saying Andy's my loser of the week, isn't it? I haven't seen him on. Look at that picture.
Looks lovely, doesn't he?
It's your man who love, hey. That's not Gav. It's Ado.
It's Ado. Thiago weeks. That's after that tournament. That's a fucking nightmare. That's a nightmare.
Listen, Listen, I reckon. I honest to God, now I can't be having the Liverpool as loser of the week. I thought we showed great resolve, and
Listen,
let's be honest.
There's a point more than we deserved, I thought.
Yeah, and do you know what, Davo? Honest to God, I think if we don't concede the penalty as quickly as we do after we scored the equaliser, we win that game 2 or 3-1. And we've all talked about, well, we started off shite, but didn't we finish strongly as it was? Yeah. It's really tough when you go 1 goal down. But that was the 5th game where we've gone 1 goal down at the start. 5th game in a row, 5th league game in a row where we went 1 goal behind against the opposing team. The team it's one thing Klopp needs to figure out is how to get them going faster. Right? How did it come out of the traps? Because we haven't done that for a while.
Wins.
Cheers, Ado.
Yeah. But right, so then you've got that. But like, lads, come on, United, that's a mess. That's an absolute mess. I had them, Andy, when we were doing our predictions during the week, I had them as the surprise team, but my God, that runs deep. That's a shit fest. I thought they'd solved out their structure around it, but your man poor old Tenkat, he's not going to like there's going to be a dead cat bounce there.
Eric 10 months. That's all he'll have.
Yeah. How could you think that they had anything sorted out when they've given the manager absolutely no control over anything? Nothing.
But he wrote lovely rules though.
Yeah. And it's
I knew there was a sniff of Hodgson about him when he came in, and
how can you chase a fella for fucking 12 weeks when he's after saying he doesn't want to come to you? He doesn't want
Eric 10 Hodge.
Yeah, honestly, it's just so like us. You know what I mean? When we turn crap, like it was. Change of direction after change of manager, change direction, buy different players, try this, try that, buy a big player, like develop youth. There's no, it's completely rudders.
I did see a United fan saying they were at their Ricky Lambert to Liverpool moment here, so in and out of it.
Yeah, so they actually are, because they're thinking, oh sure, look, what we've tried Cavani,
he knows the Premier League.
We've tried Falcao. As someone said to me earlier, they think Cavani is Falcao. It's just like
just a regen.
But now they're saying, all right, so like those, okay, just get an outfish. That might be, he might. It's just, it reminds me so much. You had hope, like you thought the identity was back. You thought there was a little, glimmer of hope in pre-season. Martial banging in goals, and as soon as you start hearing the thought, oh, Martial, yeah, I think he could come good like 10 years later. It's mad, like how we wrote this book for 30 years.
Andy, what done it for me? When they filmed the drills, the Brickfield Park drills at the beginning of pre-season, incredible.
I'd say there was somebody mentioned Aston Villa there as well as a loser. But like, if anyone watched Aston Villa from about February onwards last year, like this is like Gerrard's on borrowed time. It's not going to work. You look at who they signed; it's not happening. Right? And as much as there was a dream there and the whole lot, had there been another 10 games left in that season, I would have backed Villa to go down based on the form that they had. Right, because they had a good run at the Christmas time when he comes in. But from February onwards, they were dropping like a lead balloon, right? And this following on to this season, if they stay up, it'll be by the skin of their teeth. It's only because there's worse teams in the league as opposed to them being any use. And it wouldn't surprise me if Gerrard doesn't get past the World Cup break. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, at least then that means he'll never manage us, Phil, which would be a bonus.
Don't you worry about that.
No. Would you not?
Don't you worry about that, Davo. There'll still be teams. There's still people out there that want Rafa to give Rafa a chance, right? They'd willingly have Rafa in tomorrow because Rafa with money, he'll get sorted.
There's only one man to take over Liverpool after that club.
Linders.
Yeah. And that's like, I know it's fantasy stuff, but I'd like to see Liverpool build a dynasty now where you kind of know who's coming in after, and the fella has the exact same values as Klopp, and a bit of the experience he's getting. I know when he went out on his own, it didn't work out too well, but I mean, it couldn't be a more perfect. Do you think he's just a good number 2? Do you think he's just good?
I think he's a brilliant coach, a league coach. It's very, very different being in the main seat, as he found out. And I wouldn't like us to get into. I think you mentioned there like we wrote the book of this over the last 2 years. The problem there was we kept harking back to the boot room, and we wanted to go back to when Shankly the stays now were there. And listen, that stinks of a bit of that. For me.
But you know, but that's the mistake.
I think we should be going for best. I think we should be going for best in class, as Shawnee does normally say. If Klopp is
100%,
if the best fucking fella out there,
yeah.
Trying.
It worked.
If you want the lesson,
for years, Davo.
Nah,
that's different.
It was Guardiola. I think he's probably after going on and proving himself as one of the best managers. Well, I know Phil doesn't like him, but one of the best managers ever.
No, but every manager they took was like from within, wasn't it, for a long time?
No, they didn't. They had a couple of
Van Gaal and
They after Guardiola goes, didn't they bring in the guy who was running one of the Basque teams?
Villanova.
Yeah, the fella passed away. They brought him in, and then they've also Messi wanted Tata Martino, didn't he? The Argentinian fella.
Yeah, and then they had as well. And then they brought Luis Enrique back. Do you remember he was at Roma, and they brought him back from Roma, and then they also
did well with him.
Yeah, then they had Ronald Koeman.
I think Frank Rijkaard was very unlucky there. Frank Rijkaard was excellent. Frank Rijkaard was the one that gave Messi his debut. He's the one that Ronaldinho played for. For me, Frank Rijkaard
the European Cup, didn't he? To be fair to him,
he was the real deal. Frank.
Look, I think if it's hard to know. I think you got to find the next manager. I know that sounds ridiculous, but like, you know the way. Klopp, if you look around, there's some managers around Europe who are starting now on their journey who will be the top managers, the top managers in the world in 5 to 7 years' time, right? And if the club are doing this, why? Yeah, if the club are doing this wisely, right?
Super coach, that guy.
Yeah, I actually don't disagree with you, but it's a very different thing between coaching with the pressure to win and coaching with the pressure to win on a reduced budget. Like the one thing that Klopp had the perfect apprenticeship in Dortmund, where they aren't the top team, they're the second top team or one of the top teams in Germany with a strong budget. That's perfect for going to Liverpool because he goes there, he's not playing in the bargain basement, and he's able to show that his coaching and his managerialship is able to get more than the sum of the parts out of the team. We can get loads of managers. Look at Rodgers. He gets the points out of the squad that was there. Just don't let him buy players. Look what's happened at Leicester. He's been allowed to buy players, and it's all over the shop again. Right? You know, I think somebody's mentioned Nagelsmann. Now, stop thinking now. You got to think of who is the man in 5 to 7 years' time, because that's what we're looking at.
Linders. I mean, if you look at the amount of people who'll be thinking now when Klopp steps down, who better to maybe take off Liverpool than Linders?
What about James Milner?
No idea.
He's not even a coach, Phil.
No idea.
Will he still be playing?
Central midfield.
I'm with Andy.
Maybe it's the top red of me. I just want to see this kind of phase lasting longer, than beyond the few more years we have left the club. That all the systems are in place. The ingredients are there. It just seems like an easy transition into a Pep Linders Liverpool. Who knows? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But for me, it's a way more attractive proposition than Gerrard coming back, and the media it will be a killer. And I'd never like to see his
legacy,
his legacy destroyed. Like Souness's was. It took him a long time to.
That's a great shout from. That's a great show from Bonkers. I'll tell you one who's up and coming. Alonso seems to be one of these guys who's going to make the transition from being a very good player to a very good manager. He seems to have, again, it's that manager who wasn't necessarily. So he's incredibly talented. I'm not going to say he wasn't incredibly talented, but the way he played the game was to read what was going on and react to what was going on. You could see Thiago having that same mindset, the same way Xavi seems to have the same mindset as a manager. I know he's in the basket case that's Barcelona, but look at the way they're playing. Look at the way he has them playing. They see the game and they're aware of what's going on, so it's much more natural for them to progress into the management leadership. Anyway,
I think they come.
Go on, Andy. I'll let you.
No, I think these guys like Alonso, they come across as very intelligent fellas. They have a lot more to offer football than just what they can do on the pitch. Like, no disrespect from Gerrard, but a lot of it was just his guile, his attitude. Like, it's obviously his talent on the pitch, but I don't think he's a decision maker. You know what I mean? I think we ran into trouble at times with him and Carragher wanted to bring in. It was a Corbishley or something. Who did he want to bring in at one stage?
Corbishley loved Hodgson when they came in initially.
Yeah.
He wanted to bring in all the lads. Adam Pardew.
Like you just think you think Alonso just has that cuteness about him that he'd be just a better planner, better decision maker. Yeah, you never know.
Right, lads.
You know that lovely story.
I know it was lovely having this all on tonight. I have to say, right, it's fantastic to have 4 on instead of 3, and not Gav putting on his thing. And showbiz, baby, to stop the topic, and we've no clocks tonight, so we're able to have a bit of fun. We're out on next Monday. They're doing a post game show. Afterwards, right? Because we play Monday night as opposed to whatever it is, which is fantastic. So I'm editing and producing all these podcasts to get them out while Gav is away. So I can look forward to not being on the show and fucking editing a show instead, which is fantastic time spent. Anyway, that's been the show. But before we go, help Bobby walk. The campaign is going on. The link is in our bio. It's on the website. It's on the Instagram. It's on the Twitter. It's on the Telegram. Like, that's run by Russians. What is all doing on the Telegram is beyond me, right? So, that's that. But get in there if you can donate. If you can do something for it that raises funds, even better again. I know Gav said it's going really well, and they're working really well on it. And look, long may that continue. And please do whatever you can, or if you know somebody who can donate, please pass on the link and see what we get.
I'll say that at the end of the show last week. This is a charity that's going to have a direct, guaranteed effect and a change in his life, just like Sienna. Again, I spoke to Sienna's mom a couple of weeks ago, and Sienna's doing brilliant. She's walking, she's dancing, she's making progress all the time, and Bobby gets this treatment. That's him as well. You know, it's not just hope. This is going to happen. So do what you can, give what you can. If you can't give, share, do the whole shebang, and everyone get together like they did, and raise the unbelievable amount of money that was raised for Sienna. Do it again. Why not?
Yep. It's fantastic. Why not? You know, give another kid a great chance to have a normal life, or as close to a normal life as possible. There's nothing wrong with that. It'll make you feel better about that. This has been the forum. I mean, this has been winners and losers. Next week, since we've no winners and losers show on Monday night, Andy, there's talk of a Tuesday club coming back. Do you remember when we used to be the Tuesday club? We had the Red Dead Redemption stuff. Yeah. There could be an old.
Just keep moving us around, You know.
I'll go to ring Dell and see if we can get into the back office of the Astro Park and have a proper podcast. That would be truly fun, because we wouldn't even record that live. We'd have to.
That's a bit like the referees and their transparency, isn't it? Like, you know, you had to listen to that show like 10 times, and even still stuff got out that shouldn't have got out. So
yeah. And then there was so much chaos. What people don't realize is those hour-long podcasts used to be 4 hours in record, and there used to be 3 hours edited out at the back end of it. So it was like
it's outrageous.
Used to be great ones, and then he said, that wasn't a cut at all. Yeah, nothing held on for the next 10 minutes. That was there. Right,
he'd be shut down.
I would be shut down at all. It wouldn't last too much longer. That has been Winners and Losers. I've been your host, Phil Casey. Thank you to my man underneath me, which is Andy Young. To the man to my this side of me in Barcelona. It's not Barcelona. It's not Lorette San Mer. It's somewhere else. But I'm not going to tell you. We go to
the golf course where you have to be playing.
I'm just going to say, right, if you ever go to Barcelona and you want to meet up with Pete, he'll arrange to meet you, and then he'll bail, right? You'll find him the next time when you go over there to College's Gaff. He'll be in Andorra or some other country, just to make sure that you won't have it in, right? Because it's not a country. Andorra isn't a country.
He did the same to me.
He did the same to you, Andy. I know he did the same to me. He told me he was meeting me down in Malaga. I was there for 2 days, just standing there where we promised to meet, and he never turned up. I had to sleep on the bench and everything. It was brutal. And then Shane, thanks for coming in your Ragnar Klavan official international.
Somebody asked actually, it's a Yugoslavia Italian ID.
Oh, excellent. Where did you get that?
Got it on actually got it on an Irish website, but they changed. That was called Forza jerseys, but they changed their name because I think There was some copyright.
The Gardaí called up to them.
I don't know what they're called now. But if you probably Google Forza jerseys, you'll find
We're
that.
selling a few jerseys there. What's going
Selling a
on?
few. It won't be said.
Just drop a few down to the station there now. We'll keep you going under a new name, all right? Know yourself.
Right,
Oh,
that's been your
Jesus,
show.
just give us a few.
I know, boy, they're selling tickets.
Have you not got any in double, treble, fucking quadruple XL?
Is that
3 bars for £1.
Oh, yeah.
3 bars for £1? Remember, it was 4 bars for £1, and that's inflation. You don't even get 1 bar for £1 these days. It's shocking. You used to get 2 cans for £1 as well. Now the side of it. We don't use euros in terms of stuff.
Bring back
Right,
the pound.
well, as Red Steve says, Forza jerseys 27. That's what they've called now.com.
Oh, great name change.
Right,
They never guess.
That's being a pod.
That was $2 down. Forza jersey 25.
Throwing him over the back wall. Right, that's been a misspent youth. I've been your host, Phil Casey. That's the podcast. Good night. God bless. We won't. Maybe we'll talk to you next week. Whoever. I think we're still live. I better end this.
Yeah, no,
Hang on.